everybody to WagerTalk Today. I am Lawrence Presman. I am free of the stinking Toronto Maple Leafs. We got a great show. It's WagerTalk Today. Bryan Leonard will be joining us right off the top. He's going to look at two baseball games. LA Angels against Pittsburgh. The Mets against St. Louis. Adam Trigger after that. He's got two baseball games. He's going to be looking at the Giants game and the Royals game. Andrew McInnis with one NBA and one NHL. And Theodore Kowarewski. What do you got going in your big game breakdown?
We're going to talk about the Pacers and the Knicks. Game 1 NBA playoff action tonight. And also we'll talk a little Kentucky Derby when it comes to what bettors learned, why the favorites never seem to win.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to hear about the Kentucky Derby, Teddy. I got to be honest, nothing warms my cockles more than the Kentucky Derby. So let's get on with it. Bryan Leonard joining us right off the bat. Big, beautiful Bryan Leonard. How are you, my friend?
Good. And the only thing that compete with horse racing stories is poker stories. And you can do both of them once I leave the show, please.
Well, there will be no poker stories today, Bri, but we are going to discuss Bon Jovi a little later on in the show, so stay with us.
Good.
You know what, Bri? We're going to discuss it right in the middle of your segment.
God, damn it.
LA Angels plus 140 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. How do we bet this game?
Yeah, I just can't trust the Pirates to lay this type of number the way they're playing. The offense has been nearly non-existent as of late. In fact, if you take a look at the season, Pittsburgh has a WRC plus of 85, which is 15% worse than league average. Mitch Keller has not been good since the All-Star break last year. Every time he looks like he's going to break out, he takes two steps back. In his career, he's 27-41 with a 4.74 ERA, 1.45 WHIP. Even without going into the advanced statistics, he simply has never lived up to the hype. He's a guy right now with the starters that the Pirates have in the minors. Obviously, Paul Skeens on his way up. It would not surprise me if he won't finish the season in this rotation. They've got a lot of younger guys who are just simply panning out better than he has. Tyler Anderson's going for the Angels here. Same pitcher who went 15-5 with a 2.57 ERA just 2 seasons ago. He's doing even better so far this season. 6 starts. His pitching run value is in the 93rd percentile, according to Baseball Savant. Give us the Angels here. I know they're without their big-name player offensively, but this is still a team that is a better offense than the Pittsburgh Pirates are, and you're getting them at plus 140 here. I'll take the Angels.
So I'm with you on not wanting to lay a price with the Pirates. No problem with that. And considering Pittsburgh's been an awful favorite this year. I think they're 4-9 when laying minus 110 or higher. They just haven't been good in this role. The question is, are the Angels a team that we actually want our money on right now? LA, when Trout got hurt, I was shocked at the offensive production. For about a week, they went 6-1 to the over. They scored 5 or more runs in all 6 of those overs. And then now we've seen reality start to set in. 3 of the last 4 games, they've been held to a single run or less. Can we trust the Angels? I mean, this is a 12-22 team playing without their best player. Can we trust them to do anything? Because I'm with you on not wanting Pittsburgh in this price range, but I didn't want LA either.
Well, playing without their best player is something that they have done for the last decade, as it seems like every year he gets hurt. And they are missing, obviously. Ohtani's no longer on the team. But early on in the season, Ward and Trout were the 2 hottest bats, and they weren't going to continue on like that. In fact, about a week or 2 before Trout got hurt, he went into a slump. So they're not missing a whole lot right now. This is a team, the Angels, nobody cares about the Angels. Nobody's going to be going out and betting them. If you're going to be betting any LA team, it's going to be on the Dodgers. So I think we get value here. And Pittsburgh's a team that has a lot of good young players, but they're not panning out. I mean, Cruz missed last season. He was supposed to be their phenomenal guy at shortstop for the next decade or so. he's not hitting well. Pittsburgh's had problems in their bullpen. The closer hasn't been good. There's really nothing for the Pirates right now in which to back them. I understand the Angels don't have a lot either, but in baseball, as opposed to the other sports, hockey also is included. You know, you could lose 100 games on a season and still win 62, and that could make you money if you're playing them as an underdog price. I mean, coming into this season, the last couple of years, everybody's been talking about the Oakland A's. Going into yesterday, Oakland was a 500 ball club. If you bet Oakland every game this year, you made a lot of money. And the same way with, and I got to admit it again, Teddy, the Washington Nationals, the team that I used as the over on the season, they were only like a game or two below 500. So you can make money on bad teams in baseball. I wouldn't recommend it in some of the other sports, in football and in basketball as much, but in luck factor teams and games like hockey and baseball, playing the underdogs is a good way to make money.
Bryan Leonard joining us, everyone. Bryan, let's before we get into the Mets St. Louis game, what do you got going with the clients today?
I actually am passing today. These are my two best plays in baseball. I do have a 5% in the NBA. It doesn't go today; it goes tomorrow. But I've got that up a 5% in the NBA, and that's all I have to promote on today's card. It's a weaker card today. I do like both these plays, just not quite strong enough to release them to clients.
Bryan Leonard, the Mets, St. Louis. You are betting this game in the first 5. I want to hear who you're betting and also why the first 5, and is that a regular occurrence with you?
It is not a regular occurrence because usually if I'm playing a favorite in a game, I want the game to go 9 innings. We've seen it so many times where a team that's a better team will struggle early, and then as they get into the bullpen of the opposing team, they can get those runs. I will get into the reason why we're going to first 5 in just a minute. I do want to point out that the Nets have broken out of their early slump offensively, and while they're still waiting for this Cardinals bats to produce, this Cardinals team, they got to be totally upset in St. Louis at this point. This is not going the way they planned it. On the season, the Mets have a WRC plus of 102, while St. Louis comes at 83. Keep in mind, league average is 100. So the Mets are slightly above. Even though they started the season very poorly offensively, they are a better offensive team than St. Louis is right now. Sean Manaea takes the hill for the visitor. He's been a valuable arm for the Mets the last couple of seasons. Made 16 starts and also coming out of the pen the last 2 years. He's worked out very well for them, long relief, short relief, and starting. So he's done very well. But this year, all of his 6 appearances have been as a starting pitcher. He's got a solid 3.07 ERA. Now, he still has a 143 whip, which is a concern because he's got a 14.1 base on ball percentage. But his career is 6.7% for the walk rate, so I expect that to come down. Getting back to the Cardinals, we'll start journeyman Kyle Gibson. One of 3 veteran starters the Cardinals brought in this season, along with Sonny Gray and Lance Lynn. And surprisingly, everybody got all upset that they brought in these veteran starters. But surprisingly, all 3 of these arms have gotten off to a pretty nice start, especially Gray, who's just been terrific. But Gibson has a career 4.53 ERA, so you know what you're going to get out of him in the long run. He's a 12-year veteran. He's a guy that's a 4 or 5 starter for most teams, and in fact, a lot of teams he wouldn't even be starting at this point of his career. The reason why I used the first 5 is the Mets bullpen threw 78 pitches yesterday, including 19 from Edwin Diaz, the closer. So I want to take out the back end of the Mets bullpen here and just go for the starters. That's why I'm using the 5 innings. I like Manaea. I like him better than I like the starter for the Cardinals and Kyle Gibson. So let's take the Mets going off the starting pitcher advantage, play them in the first 5 at plus 100. And I think we got a winner here. Is the St. Louis team, from a hitting standpoint, they've got some quality hitters on this team, but none of them have broken out this year, not playing well offensively. Major concerns for St. Louis Cardinals fans right now.
So, again, I'm with you conceptually on the Cardinals not being a team that I want my money on. You know, they're certainly, we think of St. Louis as being a consistent contender in the NL Central, and they're not. You know, they weren't last year. They're not this year. But Kyle Gibson won 15 games for a 100-win team last year. He's thrown 3 back-to-back dominant starts where he's blown away. I mean, one run each time. 4 of his 6 starts this year, and eating innings, 6 innings, 7 innings. What's the anti-Gibson here? I'm not feeling that part of the equation. I'm feeling all the rest of it. But Gibson, to me, is much more bet on than bet against right now, isn't he?
If he won 15 games for a team that won 100 games last year, why isn't he still on that team? There's a reason why he plays for so many different teams as his career goes on. If you take a look at his Savant page, his pitching run value is 49. His fastball run value is 15. Those are the percentiles. If you were to rate his fastball in Major League Baseball, his percentile on his fastball is 15. That's bad. Now, he doesn't have a good off-speed run value, but if you take a look at his xERA, it's in the 12%. His expected batting average, 22%. Fastball velocity, 13%. Barrel rate, major concern, 11%. So we've got a guy here that can be hit, and he can be hit hard. And I'm not going to look at a small sample size when we got a guy who's been around for 12 years, and we could take a look at that. His hard hit percentage this year is at 41.7. Last year, 44.5. His career is 37.9. So he's at the end of his career here, and just by putting together a few decent starts is not going to get me to back him.
Bryan Leonard, thank you for joining us, my friend. Best of luck today and tomorrow on your 5% play. Teddy covers. What did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
What we had? We had a record set for the Kentucky Derby legal wagering, $210 million on Saturday. It really is an iconic sporting event. And this year it was a legitimately iconic race. It couldn't have been more exciting. It is truly the most exciting 2 minutes in sports when you have 3 horses coming down the stretch and one of them wins by a nose. So what happened when all was said and done and the smoke clears? Mystic Dan, 18-1 cashed in. That is the 6th year in a row that an 8-1 or longer shot has won the Kentucky Derby. 0 favorites during that span. You know, and what we have? Sierra Leone by a nose, one of the chalk. Forever Young, a horse we talked about on there, by another nose back in 3rd. So certainly it wasn't like Mystic Dan won by a huge margin. But the question is, why are we seeing all of these long shots? I mean, Mage last year, 15-1. Charismatic, 31-1. Giacomo, 50-1. Mind That Bird, 50-1. Country House, 65-1. Rich Strike, 80-1. This is all in the last 25 years. All right. The last 6 derbies now, again, 8-1 or longer shot wins and no favorites. So what did Dave Sherapan come on the show and always say? He goes, nobody knows squadouche. When it comes to the chalk, why does this happen? 2 reasons. 1, you got a 20-horse field. In a 20-horse field, random things are going to happen. A smaller field, Mystic Dan doesn't win. Mystic Dan was able to win because he was able to slide into the post because there were so many horses banging into each other in the middle. So the 20-horse field absolutely is a randomizer. And the other thing that's going to happen is that when we're talking about 3-year-old colts, all right, who've only run a handful of races, they get better, they get worse. It's like trying to pick rookies in the NFL or in the NBA. Some of them work out really well. Some of them get better and better. Some of them don't. That's what you're betting on. You're betting on a bunch of rookies, essentially, in the Derby. No shock that a long shot won again this year. And I'll just leave it at this. Friends don't let friends bet the chalk in the Derby. That's what I learned this weekend. Lawrence, back to you, my friend.
Teddy, one of our listeners, Tyrone Boyd, writes, Prez, you should retire. You don't like horse racing. Teddy,
okay.
You should retire. You don't like ice cream. I don't like horse racing. I don't understand. Like a bunch of animals being whipped while they run down a track for absolutely no reason. I don't get it. But hey, I'm a sports bettor. Horse racing's not even a sport. It's like an activity amongst animals that run around a track in a circle. Not for me. But if you really want me to retire, I'm not. Teddy, before we bring in our next guest, I watched the Bon Jovi documentary. It's 4 episodes. And full disclosure, I was never a Bon Jovi man. That's not my kind of music. My kind of music is like Pink Floyd, Grateful Dead, Skinner, and Allman Brothers, even obscure bands like Disco Biscuits, Humphrey McGee, like any of those jam bands. I don't care if you care. Do you understand that? And the more you interrupt me,
Lawrence, what I really want to hear is a list of your favorite bands, and especially the obscure ones. If you could just, just give me a long list of obscure bands you like. That's what you want to hear.
Well, no.
I'm joking.
Anyway,
tell the freaking Bon Jovi story.
Anyway, I just want everyone to know this. The Bon Jovi documentary, I think it's on Disney Plus, is spectacular. And I had no idea that this band had the amount of freaking hits that they have had. I think you would be hard pressed to name me 3 bands in history that have more anthems, not necessarily hits, but anthems like Bad Medicine, Wanted Dead or Alive. What's that? What was the song we were singing before?
I'm certainly not going to sing it now, and you're
Dan,
embarrassing yourself more and more as you go on.
Dan,
don't talk anything. Look, Bon Jovi was lame. All right,
no,
Bon Jovi was someone we made fun of. Bon Jovi was never cool. Bon Jovi was a freaking loser, some Jersey from loser who thought he was so pretty, and we all made fun of him, dude. Okay, that's Bon Jovi. So the fact that he gets a 4-part documentary, you're telling us it's good?
Dan, get rid of him.
He's a joke.
Dan, get rid of him.
He's a joke.
If you think Bon Jovi is a loser, let me be a loser. The guy's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He's written epic masterpieces that will stand the test of time, whether you like them or I like them. I don't like them. You don't like them. I don't like Mozart. He stood the test of time. I don't like Rihanna. She's like the 7th most selling artist of all time. We were wrong, Teddy, and I would like to humbly apologize to Bon Jovi. I was wrong. I didn't like your music. I laughed at your hairdo. I thought you dressed like an idiot. But 40 years later, I am floored at the amount of hits that you have had. And you guys can epic masterpieces. That's what they are. They are anthems, Teddy. Anthems. Literally, the dude wrote anthems. Anyway, you know what we are, Teddy? We're halfway there. Oh, living on a prayer. Take my hand and give it, I swear.
For the love of God, Adam Trigger, please join this show.
Tokyo Brandon.
I don't know how to follow that. I don't know how to follow
that
up. Brandon would have sang with you. Tokyo Brandon used to
Brandon
sing on our
is
show
in the
on a
chat
weekly
room
basis.
going, if they aren't Kiss, they suck. So, yeah. Brandon, go right down. Bon Jovi has 100 more hits than that stupid band Kiss. Adam. So, you a Bon Jovi fan?
No, but I have seen him in concert before.
So did I.
They're like everyone's mom's favorite band, kind of. So like we took my mom to see Bon Jovi probably 15 years ago now. Maybe probably about 15 years ago at Foxborough. I mean, it was a good show.
2013.
I will say this, Prez, I was surprised at how many songs I knew. Like not really being a fan. I was surprised at how many songs I knew.
Yeah.
It was good. It was fun.
It's crazy. Anyway, brother, let's get into it because Teddy's getting sick right now. There's vermouth inside of his mouth. The Giants plus 1.5. Tell us why.
Yeah, so I guess the why would start with the fact that you typically don't get respectable teams like the Giants in the plus 1.5 role at this price unless you're willing to, step in when they've lost a couple or oppose a team like the Phillies who are red hot. 16-3 in their last 19 games. I'm coming back off of playing against the Phillies last night with the Giants. I felt like it was a little bit unfortunate in that game. It was basically a Bryce Harper 3-run homer. I mean, the Phillies didn't really hit much the rest of the game. Giants made like 3 errors, ended up losing the game 5-4. Couldn't get a runner home in the 8th inning. Third base, less than 2 outs. So I just felt like it was a little bit, tough to be on the wrong side of that. And now, because it's the 4th game of a 4-game set, the Phillies have won the first 3. You're getting the Giants at getting the road team plus 1.5 at this price is pretty, that's solid value with a team like the Giants, because of course the road team, you're kind of getting the extra at bat there. And the Phillies now, not only do they have to win, they're going to have to win it by 2 or more. Another thing that can cool an offense off, like the Phillies, who are just red hot right now, is a complete unknown. And that's what they're going to face today with Mason Black. He's going to make his major league debut in this game. And he really is an unknown because he's played his minor league ball out in the PCL. The Phillies minor leaguers, or their youngsters, would have been in the International League. So no one in this lineup has seen him at all. And he's a guy that I have had circled for, when they got called up to play on. Now, there's only a handful of guys at the AAA level. Bryan, Leonard referenced one earlier, and Paul Skeens. And the other one I kind of had circled with the really above average stuff was Christian Scott, who came up on Saturday, pitched into the 7th inning, 5 hits, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk in his major league debut for the Mets. So, Mason Black, his ERA is 1 at AAA in 6 starts this year. Good fastball slider combo, and I really just think he's one of the handful of guys in AAA right now that has the stuff that I think could really, keep a MLB lineup off balance, maybe for a couple of starts until there's a little bit of a book on him. And it's also a pretty cool moment for him. He's from Scranton. He has the single season strikeout record at Lehigh. So to get to make his major league debut in Philly, probably a million friends and family, maybe a little bit momentum for that. I don't really know how to quantify that, but I just thought it was, important to point out. As far as Zach Wheeler is concerned, I have nothing bad to say about this guy at all. I mean, he's been a stud. He's having an incredible season. Strikeout rate is as high as it's been, but I will point out the fact that his last 3 starts, Angels, Reds, White Sox, all teams that either aren't hitting, or in the case of like the Angels and the White Sox right now, 2 of the lesser lineups in all of baseball. Prior to that, Zach Wheeler gave up 5 to the Pirates, gave up 3 to the Cardinals. So he's not invincible, and Zach Wheeler being good is more than priced into this line. The Phillies had to win a close game last night, so they used a couple of their high leverage arms. But going back to Wheeler for a second, he really thrives on the strikeout. The Giants do not strike out a lot. So even though they haven't been knocking the cover off the ball, they don't strike out. They're going to put the ball in play. And, who knows? Maybe they some of their hits find some green grass today and they have a day and win this game. But you're giving me a run to work with on the road here. The extra at bat, I got to take the Giants at this price.
So, I mean, you and I handicap so differently, Adam. So it's hard. It's sometimes my follow-up questions may seem a little bit obtuse, but Philadelphia is as hot as any team in baseball. They have their ace on the hill. The Giants aren't hitting. They haven't played well on this road trip. They haven't played well on any road trip this season. Why? I just don't understand the thought process. Like, let's bet against this team's ace while they're red hot, and let's back this ice cold team because I'm getting a big plus price. I don't understand it. Tell me about it.
Okay, so we'll start with the price and why I would want to take the plus 1.5 here. Typically, minus 110, minus 115, plus 1.5 on the road. You're going to get a team like the Rockies, the White Sox, like the bottom teams in the league. Here, the Giants are a solid baseball team. They're probably going to play right around 500 ball. They were up until, the start of, the road trip. So I guess the way I look at it, Teddy, is here I'm getting a good team with an extra run. Because they're the visitor, I get the extra at bat. So the only way, so not only do the Phillies have to win this game by more than 1 run, they've got to do it in 1 less at bat because the only way they're batting in the bottom of the 9th is if they're tied or trailing. And then, I just get historically a team like the Phillies, you win a game like that on Sunday night. You have to come out, play an early game the next day. You don't have this wraparound series very often, so maybe you catch them in a flat spot. But against a guy that has really good stuff, that not a single person in that Phillies lineup has ever seen before. The Giants will at least have a game plan for Wheeler. And like I said, with Wheeler, he's kind of dominated some lesser lineups. I still think the Giants have upside because they put the ball in play and they don't strike out. And at some point that is going to matter. At some point, the Giants putting the ball in play is going to matter. They started to get it going late last night. The Estrada homer. The next inning, they get a triple. Guys at third, less than 2 outs. Couldn't cash them in. They get the home run in the ninth. Maybe it carries over here. I still think I'm making the correct play with the +1.5.
So to summarize, Teddy, what Adam is saying is that the Phillies are going down in a blaze of glory. And a blue, did a blue. Okay, Adam.
You made a good case. Thank you, Adam. That was you made a strong case.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't understand where you were coming from. Now I understand better. Thank you.
There, Ad. You got a compliment from Teddy. That you should end the show right freaking now. I'm speaking to Johnny on the phone today, and he's like, "Oh, Teddy should be happy. He had a great month last month." And I'm like, "Teddy? He's the only guy that cries during an orgasm." New York, the Royals. I thought that was a good one. I was impressed.
They're sad. It's over. Yeah.
I was impressed with the wit. It was quick. It was fast, and likely true. Adam, the Royals. Are they wanted, dead or alive? Wanted. Okay, I'm gonna shut up.
They're gonna be very much alive. And I'm not always Mr. Contrarian here. I know I come on and the Giants are a little bit of a contrarian angle, but I'm gonna talk about why I think you can just ride the Royals the rest of the year. Like this is not a fluke team. Like they're off to a tremendous start. I think they're gonna continue to play excellent baseball. Did you guys know, like offhand, I didn't have this until I started to research. They're +44 run differential right now. The only two teams in the league that have a better run differential are the Dodgers and the Orioles. The Royals are the next best team with a +44 run differential. They have excellent starting pitching and really excellent pitching top to bottom. In addition to a great lineup that I think is going to continue to hit, and I'll talk about why in a minute. I do think the Brewers are maybe the flip side of that, where they're also exceeding expectations. They got off to a really good start, but I feel like they're the team that maybe comes back to earth. Maybe we saw the beginning of that start to happen at Wrigley Field this weekend. I think, their offense has been averaging something ridiculous, like 5 runs a game. But when you kind of look at the lineup 1 to 9, it doesn't necessarily translate for me. They kind of went like future is now mode coming into the season, putting Jackson Chourio on the big league roster right to start. That hasn't really worked out, especially the last 3 weeks. He's looked very lost at the plate. And I think they did that because they kind of knew that they had to catch lightning in a bottle. If they didn't, they probably weren't winning much this season. So to me, it's very surprising to see the Brewers where they are, knowing the following. 1, they lost their manager to the Cubs. 2, they lost Corbin Burns in free agency. So that's a great baseball manager and counsel. Arguably one of the best pitchers in the league in Burns. Going down the list, Devin Williams out till the middle of the season. That's their best reliever. Then you go to the IL. Brandon Woodruff, done for the year. Wade Miley, done for the year. DL Hall gets off to a nice start. He's on the IL. Jacob Junis is another pitching option that they had. He's on the IL. So in my opinion, like the Brewers offense can't just cash in on every single scoring opportunity and continue to win games when I don't think that they can keep the other team off the scoreboard without those guys that I just mentioned. And that's where I think it's going to be a little bit of an issue here because the Royals, like I said, I think this offense is for real. Last year, they were way toward the top of the league, like further than they should have been in hard hit rate. It didn't translate to wins because they were kind of in a rebuilding mode. But now those hard hits are starting to go for hits, for home runs. And that, I think, is a predictive measure. You got a team that's hitting ropes all over the place. That's typically going to translate to good offense. And that's what's happened for the Royals. And I think Bryce Wilson might be in a little bit of trouble. He's going to get the start here for the Brewers. He's kind of been thrown into the rotation, not really an elite starting pitching option. But again, I just rattled off a bunch of guys that they don't have. And he's kind of gone through unscathed so far, but he's faced the Pirates, Rays, and Padres. Not exactly, murderer's row, and that was a Padres team that's been cold. So now you're going to get the Royals, who are smoking the ball everywhere, And I think he could be in trouble here. On the other side, you've got Cole Reagans. He's awesome. He's an ace. And, I mean, he's as good of a young pitcher as you're going to find in baseball right now. For context, he just beat the Blue Jays twice. And that's a Blue Jays team. Say what you want about them. They rake left-handed pitching. And he beat them back-to-back games. The only bad start he had this year was the Orioles, another team that crushes lefties. The Brewers, I don't think are going to be able to do that to him. So this one didn't make my client card because the price was still a little bit up there, minus 140, minus 145, knowing that, you're probably going to need the Royals bullpen here a little bit. But I still think the Royals are a team I want to play on. And I think the Brewers are a team I want to fade. So I'll take a shot for a free play with the Royals minus 140. I think they knock around Wilson and get it done.
Adam Trigger says Kansas City, some chalk worth laying on a Monday night that the Royals and Kansas City's been a very good favorite so far this season. They've been cashing in this role. Adam says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. What do you have to promote today, my friend? Man,
Teddy, I probably should be promoting something here, but I'm just going to vent for a second. My whole baseball season, MLB has gone, get in the plus, lose 4 straight. Battle back, really hard to get in the positive, lose 3 or 4 in a row. So over the weekend, I lost, I think, 4 in a row in MLB. So we're at the part of the program where hopefully I'm battling back. I'm just going to give you the play because it's an afternoon play. I played Giants plus 1.5. That's a 4% play. I do have a KBO play that's going to go overnight. That's what's going to be up for sale. I may add another MLB. I'm not sure. But right now, it's Monday afternoon. The only thing I have is Giants plus 1.5. And since it's a day game, I'm just going to give it to you for free. So if you want to buy something, that 7 for 11 special is great. It's up for all handicappers and MLB through the All-Star break. I think I'm going to finish stronger than, the last weekend, which wasn't good for me. So that's something to look at too.
We've just begun, bro. No worries. We're only a couple of months in to a 600-month baseball season. So lots of
I've been
time.
posting minor league baseball winners for free over at Twitter. Those have been winning. So if you can bet AAA, I've got winners for you for free at Twitter.
You know what? Baseball will be there for you. These 5 words I swear to you. Get out of here so we can continue the show. Please do. Teddy, I've lost the plot, dude. People were worried about me when the Leafs lost. Same old Saturday night in May, people. Nothing has changed in 57 years. I'm 55 in a few weeks. Teddy, I got a couple of things to take care of before we get into your big game breakdown. First and foremost, I am on a 14-0 run. 14 wins, 0 losses in 4% bets. I have a 4% bet tonight in the NBA. I also happen to have a 4% bet tomorrow in the NHL. Guys, please do not miss my 4% plays right now. I've won 14 straight. Lastly, and I want to put this Bon Jovi Kiss nonsense to bed, Tokyo Brandon doesn't shut up about Kiss. On and on and on ad nauseum. His argument is that they've sold more albums than any other band, therefore they're the greatest. So under that scenario, the Big Mac is the best hamburger in the history of the world. Teddy covers your big game breakdown.
Let's talk about the Pacers and the Knicks. Game 1 action from Madison Square Garden with today's big game breakdown right now. Look at the WagerTalk Live odds screen. More 5.5s than 6s for the Knicks. It is a split line right now. If you want to lay 5.5, you can find plenty of 5.5 to lay. If you want to take +6 with Indiana, you can do that as well. Total sitting in the 217.5 range. The Pacers' last 5 meetings against the Knicks. 129, 141, 140, 125. And one time they scored 105. And yes, that was the one that they lost. And again, these two teams played 3 regular season meetings. over, they played between Christmas and New Year. The total was 248 and went over. 235.5, 237.5, the two meetings after that. So we're legitimately talking a total that's 30 points lower than the first time they met and 20 points lower than what we've seen as a prevailing total between these two teams. So we've seen a pretty big adjustment when it comes to this total. Now, Indiana just faced an elite defensive team in Milwaukee. And yeah, I'm going to call Milwaukee elite defensively when it came to the postseason. The defense in the games that the Bucks won was phenomenal. That being said, the Pacers hung 120 plus on them in all 4 wins. The Knicks-Sixers was the slowest paced series of any of the first 8-round series. They still cashed 4 overs to only 2 unders. All right. So the Knicks can cash overs even in slower paced games. And the offensive, Jalen Brunson's been phenomenal. No argument if you want to take Jalen Brunson over 44.5 points and assists tonight. He's been a machine here in the postseason. He's been a machine against Indiana. Scored 40 in one game against them, 39 in another. So 44.5 points and assists for Brunson. Certainly something worth noting. And of course, he scored 39, 47, 40, and 41 the last 4 games against Philly. So maybe his usage rate goes down a little bit here, but he's as rested as he's going to be. That being said, Brunson over, yes. Full game over is the bet that I like best for this one. Indiana's proven they can move the ball against the Knicks. The Knicks, even with a slower pace, the offensive efficiency has been there. No surprise that we see fouls. No surprise that we see some late scoring if the game is close. Put it all together. Let's look at the Knicks Pacers over 217.5. And there's your big game breakdown. Take advantage of that 7-11 special at WagerTalk.com. Buy 7-day all access. Get 4 days free. It's real plain and simple. Don't buy a play, buy a package. Get on board right now at WagerTalk.com. Lawrence?
Theodore, so I'm going to ask the listeners to put something up in the comment section, but guys, don't do it while we're live. Let the show go up, and then what I want to hear from you is your top 5 guests that come on Wager Talk today. You don't need to rank them in order. Just give me your top 5 guests that you enjoy listening to. Please put this in our comment section. I am going to serenade the winning guest. So that'll be really excellent. I'm going to do it live on air with Teddy. So make sure to put that up. The top 5 guests that you like on Wager Talk today. Teddy, you are so not amused today. You give love a bad name, bro.
So I'll do it falsetto if we're gonna sing, dude.
Okay, come on, let us hear you sing. What do you want to sing?
Not a chance. Thank you for asking.
You do have an extremely gifted and talented musician in your family, though. Can he sing?
Yes, better than I can.
Anybody can.
But his
sing
voice is
better
he's doing the voice cracking stuff now. So he's a little
yeah. So I had my dad's 80th birthday party on Saturday night. I had to tape the Leaf game, dude. I had to start that mess at frickin' midnight.
Why?
What?
I thought you were an Oilers fan now, and you don't care about the Leafs anymore.
Fan now. I'm also a Vancouver Canucks fan and a Colorado Avalanche. Anything but the Leafs. Anyway.
But you still taped it and then watched them lose starting at midnight.
No, because yes, I got issues, Teddy.
That's how you're an Oilers fan. You're an Avalanche fan.
Dude, they're my bed of roses. Andrew McInnis joining us, everyone.
What's up, guys?
Jesus Christ. Does he remind you of somebody?
Who?
I don't know.
Andrew McInnis.
Damn.
He looks like McInnis to me.
Yeah, he does look a little McGinnis-y. Andrew, let's get into it. I'm losing my shit today. Bruins and Panthers are playing tonight. I was hoping that it was the Leafs and the Panthers, but same old, same old. Where are you going? How are you betting this game?
I'm going to bet the total in this game here, guys, and I'll cut right to the chase for what could possibly be any type of follow-up question would be, why would anybody want to bet an over in the NHL right now based on what we're seeing? You know, we've seen 1-0 games, 2-1 games. A lot of those have been towards the end of the series here, but we've got a case of a team that should be absolutely exhausted with the Boston Bruins just finishing up an overtime game 7, traveling back and forth, Toronto to Boston, playing low scoring, excruciating games with block shots, all of that stuff mixed in versus a Florida Panthers team that should be very well rested. Haven't played a game in many days. Does rest mean rust? And I think it does a little bit. I think that if you take a team out of that high intensity that is playoffs hockey, it does take you away from it. Now, Florida knows what they're doing. They'll jump right back into it. But if you take a look at this matchup here as a whole, the offensive weapons that they have and how aggressive both teams are, I see a lot of goals. More importantly, I see a lot of power play goals. Take a look at the Boston Bruins, for example, how many power plays they gifted the Toronto Maple Leafs during that first round matchup. The Bruins should be so thankful the Maple Leafs went 1 for 21, I believe, 1 for 22 on the power play throughout the entire first round. We might be talking about a whole different series here if that wasn't the case. And as far as this Florida Panthers team, people say being top heavy isn't a good thing. But if you've got your top players scoring every single game, Sam Reinhart, Matthew Tkachuk, Carter Verhaeghe, they're about as consistent as you can get. So when I look at both these teams and the situations they're in, it's kind of two opposite ends. It's a team that's really exhausted versus a team that I think is going to be a little rusty because of how much rest they had. Over 5.5 used to be a dream during the regular season. 6.5, 6, even the rare 7 were the common totals. Now we're getting a plus price, guys, on an over 5.5 between two talented teams. Game 1 in Florida, I'll go over 5.5 here.
So I want to ask about the side, even though you're not betting the side here, but because it intrigued me. The number intrigued me because you talk, and you would expect to see a team coming off a brutal 7-game series to be maybe a bigger underdog here than the Boston Bruins are. Is this respect for Boston in the line for game 1? Is this disrespect for Florida? The series price is higher than the game 1 price, even though situationally it's supposed to be a bad spot for the Bruins in game 1. If we look at the NBA, for example, money's pouring in on the Celtics against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who just played the 7-game series and have to now travel to Boston. Why isn't the money pouring in on Florida here?
I think it will later on today continue to. I think we'll see more of it, Teddy. But I think that people really do respect the fact that a team is in the rhythm. And that's just how I feel. I think that it negatively, I think, Teddy, more than the NBA, rest sometimes can be a bad thing. Would you agree, Teddy? Sometimes in the NBA, like the more rest you have, the better in the playoffs overall with your handicapping. Like I find in the NHL, I've seen a lot where if you're overly rested, it might not be a good thing. Would you say, Teddy, in the NBA, it's not usually a bad thing? The more rest, the better?
Maybe for a half. It can take a team to, but when it comes to the full game, rest advantage is real.
Right.
Yeah. So
even if they're out of sync.
Teddy, I'm going to answer your question quick. I mean, we have people in here that think all I do is sing nonsense, and I don't know what I'm talking about. They should actually check my records, Teddy. Yeah, go ahead.
But when you're singing nonsense and people don't like the nonsense that you're singing, what happens is that you're going to open yourself up to attacks. So
I love
keep singing.
Dude,
keep singing, and we'll keep clicking your ears.
I love the hate. I love the hate. It makes me happy. Anyway, to answer that question real quick from my perspective, Teddy, you have a situation here where Boston has owned this Florida team all season long. They've won all 4 games, and they've kept Florida off of the snide. I mean, Florida just has not put up a lot of goals against this Boston team all year. I think the most they put up was 3 spot in one of the games. So Boston has owned Florida all year. That's number 1. And number 2, Boston is in a serious revenge spot. Now, I don't necessarily love that concept, but here you have a situation. I'm about to explain, interrupter. Here you have a situation where Boston was the president. Boston set the record last season, I think, for the most wins ever in the regular season. Then they went up 3-1 in the first round against Florida and ended up losing not only in overtime in Game 7 in Florida, but the tying goal happened within the last minute of Game 7. Boston is chomping at the bit to beat Florida here. This is the team they want to face. This is a team they've owned all season long, and this is a team that they have a huge revenge factor against. That's really why I think the line is shorter, but I do agree that concept of a tired team coming out of a tough series, Game 7 against the Leafs, playing a well-rested Florida team who's had all the time in the world to sit back and wait. It's definitely interesting, and you were right, a fascinating side play here. Andrew, T-Wolves versus the Nuggets. Talk to us.
Game 2, guys. Home court still here for the Denver Nuggets. I'm going to go up and over 106.5 for the team total here for Denver. Look, I'm going to take Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves scoring out of the picture. Just worry about one team here. Obviously, we see the T-Wolves go up 1-0 in this series, but what I have seen is 8 of the last 10 games, including the last game here for the Nuggets, they've gone over 106.5 points here. I know some of those regular season games, some of those being the playoffs, but the last 2 times that they lost this was the last game and then a victory over the LA Lakers where they won 102-99. I think one underrated factor of this Nuggets team, which doesn't get talked about enough because they have Joker, they have Murray, so many talented players, is Coach Malone. I think that they are great at making adjustments. If you look across the board at sometimes they have faced adversity, although it hasn't been much adversity over the last several years, he has the ability to make changes. Now, one thing I noticed from Game 1 compared to the previous series against the Lakers, there's a lot more of a presence in the paint. Let's be honest here. Anthony Davis, when he's not battling injuries, sure, he's at an impact in the paint, but he also loves to play in the perimeter. The Minnesota Timberwolves constantly have a guy in the paint protecting the rim, which is going to be an adjustment for the Denver Nuggets to deal with. I think in Game 2, we'll see a lot more of a high-low game. I think we'll see a lot more driving kicks. I think we'll see a lot more field goal opportunities. And I also believe for the Denver Nuggets, we're going to see them utilize the fast break a lot more. Anthony Edwards, when he gets comfortable in the offensive sets, running 5-on-5, I think that Minnesota wants a slow-paced game. And I know you might think, well, Joker's the best player in the world. He's not that fast. Don't you think the Nuggets want a slow-paced game? And I still believe overall for the guards and for even Joker on the run, the fast break benefits them. Taking a look at Game 1, some of the stats here. Minnesota with 82 field goal attempts compared to the 75 for the Nuggets. We saw 27 three-pointer attempts compared to 31 for the Nuggets there. But the rebounding battle, the points in the paint battle, the assist battle, all benefited the Nuggets. I think things change in Game 2 here. Second game of the series, still at home for Denver. But I'm not taking the side. I'll just stick with the team total over 106.5.
So, I mean, Minnesota's been pretty elite defensively this postseason. That's their game plan. One would think would be, and of course, Jamal Murray's not 100% for Denver. How worried are you about Murray's injury affecting what the Nuggets want to do offensively? And how worried are you about Minnesota's elite defense containing the Nuggets on the wing?
Teddy, I'm even worried about KCP. I know that Jamal Murray's the guy I should be worrying more about, but just overall, I think depth is an underrated factor and an underrated part about this Nuggets team. With all the all-stars they have, I know they have Joker, but you need to have a lot of guys in the supporting cast. And for that reason, I truly believe getting out in the fast break, utilizing their speed, getting a defensive rebound and pushing forward is going to be a big part of the offense. I think that they're not the same team right now, especially with the injuries when they're playing 5-on-5 basketball. So I'm really curious. I think they're going to see a higher number of three-point attempts. We're going to see a lot more mid-range opportunities. And I think the biggest adjustment was that presence in the paint for the Timberwolves. they didn't really have to deal with as much against the Lakers. I know Anthony Davis was there, but this is a much different team with Towns there as well. So I think that it's a concern, Teddy, but I think still, even with the injuries, even with kind of the shortened bench, the supporting cast is actually the key for me in this wager. I actually like Christian Brown, his prop over 4.5 points. I bet him to get a 3-pointer tonight at plus money. I think the supporting cast steps up tonight. If we see Jokic just drop 30 points again, that's not really enough. Prez, I see you waving your hand as if most guests don't talk for 35 minutes. So I appreciate that. And I'll see you guys later, I guess.
Hey, Andrew, you spoke on Puck Time for 40 minutes today.
Okay.
I'm just worried about your voice, bro. I'm calling you in an hour, and we're doing Bon Jovi duets all afternoon. Great show, everyone. Andrew, what do you got to promote?
Yeah, so I actually have a 7-3 NBA run right now. I know I do Puck Time every day, but I am in the mix on NBA, and my play tonight is in the other game going on. So that's my free play with the Nuggets team total, but I do have a best bet in the other game. And NHL props for tonight. The props started off slow in the playoffs, but we're really getting it together. And later on this afternoon, I'm going to have it packaged up. My full CFL season. We're 1 month away, officially 1 month away from the start of the CFL season. If you buy that package, you'll get the rest of my NHL's playoffs for free. So full CFL season, 4 of my 5 years at WagerTalk and Sports Memo, we've made profit in the CFL. You guys call it the dog days of summer. I'm looking forward to it with the CFL.
Thank you, Andrew. Wonderful stuff. Teddy, great lineup all week. Guys, make sure to log in tomorrow. Watch the show. Let us know who your favorite 5 guests are, please. That would be great. Remember, I have a 4% play up tonight in NBA. I'm on a 14-0 run. We have no penalty box segment today as there's only one NHL game, and I'm betting it. We are going to change it back to the presidential address at some point in the next little while and start incorporating some baseball picks. Teddy, what do you have going for the clients? And please, my brother, take us home.
Yeah, we have a single best bet in MLB and a single best bet in NBA for Monday night. You can check those packages out, wt.buzz/TC. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to spend with us on WagerTalk Today. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. Between now and tomorrow's show, enjoy the games and best of luck with all your bets.